Hello everybody, Shady here with another 5 games to add to your game collection, and obviously we're continuing with the 6th generation consoles. We've done the PlayStation 2, we've done the Dreamcast, so I think next we're going to be talking about one of the greatest systems ever made, a Nintendo console, their entry to the 6th generation, and that is the Nintendo GameCube, possibly one of the greatest consoles ever made. So let's give a bit of a history lesson on the GameCube. So for starters, obviously Nintendo, prior generation, they had the N64, which they decided to use cartridges for instead of switching to CDs, which obviously meant they lost a lot of third-party support. So obviously they did actually go towards CDs with this system, but obviously it wasn't just regular CDs. If you pop it open, you can see there's not really much space in there because it actually uses mini CDs, or whatever they call them, like mini DVDs or something, I guess, not CDs. And yeah, this thing was kind of a beast. Very powerful console, like much more than the PS2. Not quite as powerful as the Xbox. So it had some games that like really looked incredible in comparison to their like PS2 counterparts anyway. And Dreamcast as well, obviously. But the thing is, this system, it never really hit off. It actually did worse than the N64. N64 did about 30 odd million units. This one only did about 22-ish. It's like Nintendo's second worst selling home console after the Wii U. Third worst selling console ever if you include all systems and, you know, the Virtual Boy, if you want to. But I guess Nintendo and everyone wants to forget that ever happened. But yeah, what's strange is obviously it didn't do very well at the time. But then as people have kind of looked back at the system, they've realized it's kind of incredible. Like, it has an amazing library of games. I mean, probably some of Nintendo's best first-party titles, some great third-party titles. It did better in terms of third-party support than the N64, obviously. And yeah, it's just a great system. Yeah, so I've got 5 awesome games to add to your collection. It could have been much more, and I could probably do multiples of these because it's just a great system. Anyway, we're going to talk about the first one, and that's actually going to be a sort of platforming game from a series that you wouldn't think would be on a Nintendo console, but it actually is. And we are actually talking about Sonic Adventure 2 Battle. So, obviously, with the Dreamcast failures, Sega just decided to go third party. They pretty much did it straight away. Like I said in the last video, Shenmue 2 was on the original Xbox. You had a sequel to Jet Set Radio on there as well. And yeah, they ported both Sonic Adventure 1 and 2 to the Dreamcast, or to the GameCube rather. I think if I remember correctly, this one came out first and then that one. The battle fixture, or like subtitle I guess, basically just means it's like a deluxe version. It just adds a few extra features and stuff. Mainly, you basically get to do like some sort of battle sort of gameplay and everything. With this game, how it basically works is, if you played the first Sonic Adventure, you kind of have, in the first one, you had like the adventure zones where you can kind of travel and traverse and all that. This game kind of gets rid of that. And now, as you can see on the cover, we have like 2 sets of characters. We have the Dark and the kind of hero characters. So obviously the heroes would be Sonic, Knuckles, and Tails. And then the villains are Eggman or Robotnik, sorry. Shadow, who's like Dark Sonic sort of thing, and is a new character to this game, so that's where he was introduced, if you don't know. And Rogue as well. They're basically counters of each other. So obviously Sonic and Shadow are basically, you know, the same. Tails and Robotnik pretty much the same. And then obviously Rogue and Knuckles pretty much play the same. So and then how it works is you go through levels one after the other. So you'll have a Sonic level, which will play like basically Sonic's adventure zones in Sonic Adventure 1. And then we'll have Knuckles levels where they'll work like his ones, where you're searching for 3 emeralds. I don't know if they're Chaos Emeralds or just some sort of emeralds to advance the stage. You have like the tracking thing, and you have to chase him down in kind of an open area. And then you also have a timer as well, so you have to do it quick. And the Tails levels are basically like these run and gun sort of mech games. And then obviously, like I said, the Dark characters are exactly the same as they work anyway. And obviously, just like the first game, we have the Chow Garden, which is amazing as well. So what is the Chow Garden? It's basically like Tamagotchi, essentially. Obviously, if you played the first one, and obviously this game was also in the Dreamcast as well, you have the little chows, and then on the VMU you can kind of take them out and about and train them. But in game you can do it anyway. How it works is you have these little eggs, you find them, they're like little blue things you can find in the stage. You'll sort of collect it in the stage, and you can get all these items and stuff while you're doing the adventure zones. And then between levels, you can go into the Chow Garden, and then pretty much just train your Chow. You hatch the little thing. You can have multiple ones of these as well. And then depending on what you do, if you're good to them, they become like good Chows. If you're like evil to them and hit them and stuff, they become evil Chows. Then you give them these like crystals and stuff, which will like improve their stats. You can have specialized ones, and then you do like little fun mini games and races and stuff for them. So it's like pretty much a whole game within a game. It's kind of crazy when you think about it. Like you have this essentially like Tamagotchi style kind of battle game, or like little mini game type of thing as a game inside of this, which is cool. It's probably the thing you're going to get the most hours out of in the game anyway. It is a really fun game though. I really like the way you switch between the levels and stuff, and it has a really good flow to it and great level design anyway. Yeah, great game. Add it to your collection. Next up, we're going to talk about a fighting game. One that I'm not sure people remember. There hasn't really been an entry in this series for a while yet, but yeah, it's a great one anyway, weapon-based fighting game, and that is Soul Calibur 2. Okay, so what is Soul Calibur 2? So, Soul Calibur, or Soul Blade, the original was called, it's essentially a weapon-based fighting game. It's like a 3D battle kind of game. It is side-to-side, but you can also move around as well. And then each character specializes in a particular weapon. And then you have horizontal, vertical attacks with the weapon. You have a block button, and then obviously you can do like a melee button and a grab. So yeah, it's a really fun game. It's got this kind of like fantasy medievalish sort of setting to it with the characters and the designs. There's a lot of kind of reverence with the announcer and the music and everything. It's really cool. But as you can see on this one, as a guest character. So you probably saw my 360 one where I talked about the fourth game, where that had guest characters. You know, PlayStation had Darth Vader, and 360 had Yoda. So with this game, all the three systems at the time, GameCube, PlayStation, and Xbox had a different character. Xbox had Spawn, which is badass. PlayStation had Heihachi from the Tekken series. Obviously, this is Namco Bandai, so Tekken and this are kind of, together in a way. You actually have Yoshimitsu in the game as well, so as a player character. And obviously, Link is in the GameCube version, which makes this kind of the version that everyone loves. I think this is the one that did the best in terms of sales because it had Link, and it's kind of the default version for everyone. So yeah, and then on top of that though, that's just one aspect of it. You have obviously the arcade mode and versus and all that stuff, but there's this great mode called Weapon Master mode, where it's kind of like almost an RPG-esque type mode. You select your character, you go through battles, and then you gain new weapons which have better stats. I think there's also armors and stuff, so it's like this game, you can put a lot of hours into progressing your character, and it just adds all these extra hours into the game. I mean, it's a great game anyway. You'll have fun just playing versus or arcade anyway, so Weapon Master's just a bonus. But yeah, it's just a great game. Obviously, Nightmare is probably my favorite character. Nightmare and Mitsurugi, I think they're the best ones. Kalik is also awesome. He uses like this giant stick, and he's just really quick and awesome. And like I said, Yoshimitsu is in it too. So, but yeah, great game. Definitely buy it. Not too expensive as well. That version is a bit more expensive than the others because of Link, and it's a GameCube game because GameCube games are just crazy anyway. So I personally like using Link, so that's the version I'll go for. But you can go for the other two as well if you want to. It's up to you really. Next up, I want to talk about an RPG. This is a really cool one because it's actually been like remastered and stuff, similar to like Ninja Gaiden 2 that I was talking about in my Xbox 360 list, where the original version is still the best version and it's kind of been lost to time. The game I'm talking about is Tales of Symphonia on the GameCube. So why I say this is the best version, I guess it is debatable, but this version is 60 frames per second, and then all the ports, the PS2 port, added a load of features and stuff, but then capped it at 30, and then every version after this, all the remasters, PS3, and obviously even the latest one, which is on Switch now, is kind of based off that version, and is still 30 frames per second. And then there's also the Switch version has been like really glitchy and like has had to have patches to improve things and stuff. But yeah, for some reason, like, this is still the best one. Like, they've just not based any of the versions off this one, and it's still 60. So obviously, what is Tales of Symphonia? Maybe I should get into the game a little bit. Obviously, it's a action RPG, long run in the series. Obviously, the original was Tales of Fantasia, I believe it was, on like the SNES. And the series has gone on since then. The latest entry, Tales of Arise, obviously is on the latest systems, PS4, 5, PC, Xbox systems, all that, you know. So yeah, if you play that game, you should probably give this one a go. Obviously, the thing is, this is actually not too expensive for a Dreamcast, a GameCube game anyway. I managed to get it under 30, so you may be able to find that. That's like cheaper than the remaster, so, you know, and it's the better version. Well, it doesn't have so much content with certain things, but it is the better version, in my opinion. But yeah, it's an action RPG. So how it works is we have our main character who you see on the front here, and then basically he and his friends, they have to basically, you know, kind of battle evil sort of thing, JRPG sort of fare, you know. Really is a great game though. The battle system's cool. So obviously you encounter an enemy, and then you have a field, and then you basically fight them. You can move around and do your attacks. And then just like with the other Tales games, you have like your special attacks and stuff, and you have techniques. And then you can kind of like utilize your allies' techniques and stuff as well. And there's a lot of like, you know, teamwork going on there, which is really cool. Yeah, it's just a really fun game. So, and another thing with this is actually one of the 2 discs, because these smaller discs, you know, really interesting thing. But yeah, it's just a cool game, and I really think you should give it a go. Next up, we're going to talk about a horror game, part of my favourite series. One that I don't think people are expecting, because they're probably thinking of a different one. Resident Evil game I'm talking about, and I'm talking about Resident Evil 2. Yeah. Obviously, if you've seen my my Resident Evil collection, you'll know that, like, basically at the time every Resident Evil game was on there. So you got Resident Evil 0, Remake, 2, 3, Code Veronica, and 4, all available here. But the reason why I want to talk about this particular one is because this version of Resident Evil 2 is actually like the best version in a lot of ways. First of all, it's on a single disc, which is one thing. So Leon and Claire both on one thing. Another thing, you can actually skip cutscenes, which is crazy as well. Yeah, I know, it's kind of hard to believe, isn't it? Like, I don't think any other version allows that, from what I remember. Obviously, it doesn't have the extras of the N64 version. That one gave you the option to do free movement, you know, not just tap controls using the stick. And it added like the EX files, which basically allowed for, or like kind of went in line with 3, kind of, you know, added some context to 3 or something. Yeah, you know, that's just a better one. It's pretty much, it's based off like the PlayStation version, from what I remember. So yeah, you don't have like Dreamcast Nightmare mode and any of that sort of stuff, but it's just really cool to you know, have it on a single thing and skip cutscenes. Also, this is I think this is the highest resolution version as well. So obviously you would need the you know, component cables, or the Eon attachment sort of thing, HDMI attachment, to be able to play it in a high resolution. So, but yeah, still a great game. Obviously, Resident Evil 2, maybe you've played the remake and you haven't played the original, but I'll explain it anyway. So it's set after the events of the first game. We're playing as Leon, who's a new recruit to the police during the incident of Raccoon City. It's famously his first day on the job. And then we have Claire, who's just new into town, looking for her brother Chris. So she's actually Claire Redfield, Chris's sister. How it works is you select either one of the 2 characters to play as, and then you go through their story. And what's really cool is when you complete the one story, you go into the other one. So there's this A-B scenario sort of thing. So one leads straight into the other. So yeah, once you complete it, it says swap disc, play as the next character. So yeah, you basically have 4 playthroughs. So an A and a B scenario for either character, which is really cool. I think Claire A, Leon B is the canonical one anyway, I think, anyway, but not that it matters. And also, what is really cool is it introduced this thing called the zapping system. So you don't just go through 2 playthroughs. What happens in the A scenario kind of affects B. So there's one really cool part where you get this, like, there's basically these shutters you can put down, and there's a room where you have like this electrical cable, and then you essentially have like the choice do I close the shutters in this room or that room? And then doing either one will mean there's less zombies in a certain room for the B scenario. So obviously in the B one, more because obviously you're in the police station, the Raccoon City police station for the most part. You escape into the and obviously in the B scenario, more of them are broken in, and there's more enemies, and it's like just tougher sort of thing. So and then there's also like a thumbprint thing that you can do. You do a thumbprint with one character, and then you do it with the second one, and it opens a certain room. And then there's another room you go into where you open it in a scenario, and then there's some weapons and other things you can gather. And then yeah, you can either take them for yourself or just leave them for the B scenario, which is probably the better thing because yeah, it's just easier for them because it's a tougher thing anyway. So, but yeah, it's an awesome game. And then I got the final game, which is possibly one of my favorite games, one of the greatest remakes of all time, in my opinion, and still is stuck on the GameCube, and that is Metal Gear Solid: The Twin Snakes. So, what is Metal Gear Solid: The Twin Snakes? This is basically MGS1 completely remade with the engine of 2. Yeah, including the detection system and, you know, not just the visuals, but the detection system, the lighting, all that sort of stuff. So yeah, it's pretty amazing. And not only that, it's not just a straight remake. What it is, they actually, obviously this is done by Silicon Knights, for starters. Kojima just worked as like a producer overviewing the thing. And then you had what was his name? I can't remember the name of the director, but he's the guy who did Godzilla Final Wars and Versus. He's like this famous Japanese director who's known for doing really crazy over-the-top kind of movies. He actually directed the cutscenes. So the cutscenes are different to what they were in the original, and they're more kind of crazy and over-the-top. There's like a bit where you see like, you know, Snake doing backflips and dodging bullets and all sorts of crazy stuff, almost like Matrix-esque type stuff. And it really just adds a completely different tone to the game. It makes it almost feel like the movie adaptation in a way or something. You know, we've been talking about the Metal Gear Solid movie for years, haven't we? So, you know, this is kind of the closest thing we have at the moment anyway, until it finally does happen. And again, another cool thing, it is on 2 discs, just like the original, and you change this at exactly the same point, which is really cool. Another great thing is basically, like, near enough all the voice cast have returned from the original, which is great. And if I remember correctly, David Hayter, being the boss he is, the big boss, actually like took a pay cut just to make sure they kept everyone, or everyone returned. That's how badass he is. Also what's great is, because obviously you have like the MGS2 style detection and all that, it's actually a bit tougher than the original in some regards. So if you're used to playing the original one, you know, it's a bit more tough. Like there's areas where you can literally just hide in the shadows and they can't see you at all in the original, whereas in this one it kind of throws you off because they can see you. Or like there's another bit in, like, I think it's the hangar bay or something, where if you're going up the stairs they can't actually see down, they can kind of just see straight in the original, whereas in this one they can actually see down and like detect you. So it's really funny having to get used to that. But it's just a great game, man. You know, there's a lot of people who talk like smack about this game and say, you know, it's a bad game or whatever. It's just different, you know. Yes, it's not as good as the original in terms of tone and, you know, that seriousness, but it's not going for that. It's doing something completely different. And I think it should be commended for that. You know, similar to like, as you can see here, you know, this remake, Final Fantasy VII remake, where it's doing something completely different. It's not trying to replace the original. It's just a companion piece, like just a different flavor, you know. So yeah, for that reason, I think it's great. Maybe this is finally going to get ported. Obviously, as we know, MGS3 is getting a remake, and the Master Collection is going to be out late this year, or is out now, depending on when you see this video. So let's just hope when they do Master Collection Volume 2, we do finally get a port of this game, because even though, like I said, I would suggest you buying it for the GameCube, this is a little bit more on the expensive side. It's one of those that is up there. You know, if you shop around and stuff, and you know, you could probably get it a bit cheaper, but yeah, there's places that they're selling this for like 60 plus, you know, that sort of a thing. Still, you know, not too bad a price if you consider how much new games are and stuff. So yeah, but anyway, that's going to be the end of the list. I really hope you enjoyed. I think the GameCube is an amazing system. Like I said, I'd definitely do more videos on the GameCube because it's just a great system, and it's one that I think don't let the crazy price of a lot of the games put you off. The system itself is still decently cheap, and there are a lot of great games you can get for cheap. You know, there's some great videos out there of people explaining this. There's a channel, I think his name is like GameCube Galaxy. He's done a few lists of just games you can get for under 20 quid, and there's some bangers out there. So yeah, definitely give that a watch if you do. I'm sure you probably heard of him anyways. Much bigger channel than me anyway. But yeah, anyway, hope you have a great rest of your day, and I'll catch you in the next one.